On the 12th episode of Insider Investing, I'm hosting Ragini Das, who's co founder of leap.club, which is on a mission to shatter the glass ceiling. On this episode, we cover a lot of ground. We talk about her motivations of starting up, building a community, getting members in India to pay, and the concept of the table, which I'm personally super excited about. Listen in to this very exciting episode. Hey Ragini, welcome to Insider Investing. It's incredible. This is the first time we are meeting. This is a big disclaimer right up front that I'm an investor in leap.club. And so everything that you hear on this podcast will be biased. So please bear with us on that.
Just how we
Well,
like the world.
you know what? Actually, I heard this saying once that if there's no conflict, there's no interest, right? So it's always good to have some overlaps and get stuff going. Ragini, it's been incredible watching the journey of Leap.club from the sidelines. By the way, congratulations for the Golden Kitty. I saw
Right there.
you. Oh, there it
There
is.
somewhere, yeah.
I saw you with Sahil Bloom, all of the people that we really admire on one screen. It was like incredible. Congratulations on that. And I think that's a great point to start with about the journey of Leap.club. How did it happen? You were this super performer at Zomato. You decided to throw it all away and start afresh. Why would somebody do that?
I keep asking myself that. But jokes apart, I think, Sandeep, I love Zomato. I think it's a universal truth, gospel truth. Um, in my head, I think I only became a founder in 2020, yes, but the startup bug in some sense bit me very, very early back in 2013, which is, of course, when I joined this food tech startup. So I feel the early exposure, talking about culture day in, day out, seeing the hustle, how much ever people hate the word today, building teams ground up, managing teams when you were like literally 24, 25, right? Like not a lot of people can boast about that. So I feel the entire 0 to 1 journey got me very, very excited. And I saw that very, very early in my career. I also knew that for someone like me who is extremely impatient, startups are probably the thing, and I'm not going to be happy in your typical 9 to 5 setup. It's not the kind of work I enjoy. It's not the kind of people I enjoy working with, also. I just need that energy. I need that enthusiasm. And like I said, you can hate on the word, but I need that hustle in my life for however long I can have it at least. So yeah, so I enjoyed working at Zomato quite a bit. I worked across geographies, I worked across products, learned from some of the sharpest brains, I would say, in the business for the 6 years that I was there. And the idea of starting up was not even close to like in my this thing in my vicinity, right? In fact, in a very, very early 2018 is when I started working with Anand. This was his second stint. Anand's my co-founder, of course. And he joined Zomato again after his little startup experience. And we used to work together. We used to talk about how the world just needs to solve real problems. And one of them happened to be how broken professional networking was. So, yeah, I think for me, it was a step by step process. I did not grow up, like, I did not, like, as a kid think, oh, I'm going to become a founder. I'll be honest, 5 years ago, I didn't even think I was close to it. So yeah, it was just the right place, right time, the dots and the timings, everything matched. I also feel I was at a stage in my career life where I could take that, I don't want to say risk, but I could take that leap of faith or that plunge. Even financially, basis experience, it all made sense. And that's how Leap, in some sense, came together for me. So,
But
yes, I threw it all away, but hopefully, no regrets.
I'm sure no regrets. But because startup is really a state of mind. Even if you're working for a large company, there are people who think like they should
Founders.
in a startup, and they
Yeah.
think like founders, and they own every problem. They want to solve it. They hustle, like you said. But there are so many ways and to direct that energy, right? I mean, and even in starting up a new company, you could have started up a purely commercial outfit, right?
Yeah.
And focused on solving business problems. Here, you're at the intersection of what is potentially a social issue.
Yeah.
You spoke about professional networking, and that's great. But really, to me, Leap is solving for a social challenge that we are facing, which is not enough not enough women in the workforce, not enough sort of diversity of thought. So why just this, and why not like potentially many other things that you could have done?
Yeah, no, Anand and I keep joking how Hawkins at the end of the day is making the maximum money and having the last laugh. And sometimes we just wish that, oh my God, I think, why can't we have that? But jokes apart, I think let me just call out for everyone listening what Leap essentially is, right? We're a community led professional network for women. With,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, with a very bold mission. It's to see more women in leadership positions. I'll be honest, while our mission has stayed consistent over the last 2 years, there have been lots of learnings and we've come to answers, we've come to what we essentially are. All of
Mm-hmm.
it has been a journey in some sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
We started Leap with the idea of how professional networking, like I said, was extremely broken. And this was very gender agnostic, industry,
Mm-hmm.
gender, everything agnostic. We spoke to almost 300, 400 people. We asked them what they do for their professional growth, what is it that they need. And
Mm-hmm.
Sandeep, the way women spoke about it was a lot more hard hitting
Mm-hmm.
than men.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond the stats that we all know about, I think the lack of a solid network, the lack of proper tools to learn, to grow, the lack of a community that has your back, access
Mm-hmm.
to executive coaching, I think all of these things just came out as such huge blockers.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the way they spoke about it, and like I could feel it, right? Like, and I saw that, like, even at Zomato, I'll be honest, of course, with the broken rung, like when you join, there are lots of people, but as you keep growing, even at an as inclusive company as that, I saw the lack of many, many female role models, right? Or female
Mm-hmm.
mentors. So I think almost 300, 400 conversations later, I think we were more than convinced that Leap is needed in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We also understood this would make our TAM
I was
considerably
going to talk about that. Yeah.
smaller. It would also make our fundraising journey much, much
Harder.
harder. But
Correct.
at the end of the day, I think we were convinced we're solving a real problem. It'll hopefully stand us in good stead. And looking back, it did.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we hope for Leap to be the preferred professional network for women globally. We want to be a profitable company, we want to be an impactful company, and we want to influence three very key aspects in a woman's professional life.
Mm-hmm.
One, which is what we do today, is connections and network, which
Mm-hmm.
is why a community build a very, very solid network for women. The
Mm-hmm.
second is access to jobs and opportunities. And
Mm-hmm.
the third is constant learning and development via, of course, the right tool. We also understand and we've learned, in fact, I'd like to say over the last 2 years, that Leap is not a 1 year course, right? It's not a STOA school, or it's not a program that you do for X months or X years or so and so. It's a lifelong process, right? So we have someone who's 3 years in Bain, someone else who's 25 years MD at Landor. We have a founder, we have a budding founder, we have
Mm-hmm.
freelancers, we have journalists, we have women in real estate, like hardly any women there. So today, I think we're very, very focused on connections, both personal and professional. The personal angle, I'll be honest, has grown over the last 8, 9 months, and that's also been another learning. But essentially, we're not a transactional platform. We don't optimize
Right.
for likes or shares or commenting for reaches, right? I think this is a community, and of course, the community team does a very good job at it, but it's a community that we nurture with every single conversation. It's a safe space, and I feel that's what kind of sets us apart. Um, we also did a very, and I was telling Saurav this, right? Like, we made a very bold decision of going community first. Today,
Yeah.
lots of companies build a product and then they want to kind of build a community around it.
Hmm.
But for us, our moat is our community. Members trust us. We have the best talent. We have the sharks and the whales, and there's so much we can do with them.
So, Ragini, let's peel that onion because there's a lot of things that you touched upon in that
Yeah.
thing. Let me first, and a lot of founders listen to this podcast. Uh, this whole thing of fundraising for what is potentially on paper a very small TAM, right? So, how does one approach that conversation with a VC? Because here you are and your passion shines through even this Zoom call, but how does that how do you convince a VC that look, there is a market here, that there is, and while your passion and all of that is important, but how does it translate for them in terms of returns? So that is one question. I'll talk about the angle that you've taken towards your product journey
Sure.
in just a bit. But how was the fundraising experience for you?
Blood, sweat, tears. I'll be very honest, right? I think uh, looking back, I think 2 years ago, it
Hmm.
used to really bother me, if I'm
Hmm.
being very honest. I was like, why do people not see it? Because everyone loves the mission. They all want us to come and talk to their employees and other people and connect us to people, etc. But
Yeah.
not everyone gets it, right?
Hmm.
A part of me also feels not everyone gets it because they don't understand the problem. Because
Hmm.
the room I'm pitching to,
Yeah.
there are
It's
no
mostly
women,
men. Okay.
right? So
Yeah.
I feel not like you need to understand all problems, but I feel they don't understand that bit of it.
Hmm.
I also have learned over the last couple of months, I would say, we need patient capital, Sandeep, right?
Hmm.
We're not a company that's going to give you a hockey stick growth. And if that's what you're looking for, we're not the right company for you to invest in, right?
Hmm.
Over the last 2 years, we've had angels, venture capitals. In fact, our lead investor was a member first. And then she went and NZR, right? Like that's when Namita went and led the round, right? And I feel in true Ranveer Singh style, apna time aega. And I think you've just got to believe that it's going to happen and it's going to happen at the right time. And it's very easy to get very demotivated when you see people raising 1 million, 5 million, like crazy valuations. But it's important to understand that you believe in your product, you're trusting your product. Of course, you're changing parts to make your product better,
Hmm.
but at the end of the day, you're working with people who understand what you're building and aren't after it just because it's hot in the market right now or so on and so forth, right? So I feel
Yeah.
you find the right people and you've just got to be patient and continue building. The I think what really made our lives easier was that Leap is a revenue first company, right?
Yeah.
90% of our fundraise is still in the bank. In fact, we're just starting to dip our feet because both Anand and I are very frugal founders. But today, I think we're closer to product market fit. So we're like, okay, now we need to spend on growth.
Hmm.
But we've always been revenue first. We've always let that kind of help us grow, build.
Yeah.
So it's been slightly easier. But is it easy? It's not easy. Is explaining why this is needed in the world beyond the stats easy? Also, it's not.
You know,
So yeah,
one of the demigods in VC is this Mark Andreessen of Andreessen Horowitz, and
yeah,
he tweeted, I think he tweeted day before yesterday that VCs want to invest for the long term in things that are hot today, right?
yeah,
Like you have to be in today, like in with it.
yeah,
So I think, and I can imagine how hard this would have been, but it's incredible. The revenue first thing also is like something very distinctive and unique about leap.club. Uh, Today we are in a time when it's all about growth. You build and then you figure out revenue models later.
yeah,
And that's the conventional venture-backed model, right? Whereas you led with revenue first.
yeah.
You have thousands of members who are paying you a fee every month, every year. What is it that motivates them to do this on a consistent basis? And what do you worry about? Like, what is it that it takes to them to continue renewing their fee, and how
Membership.
do you think about that?
Yeah. No, no, I think you're right. I think we've completely gone a different way here also. Like not just our TG, but even our approach is very different from your conventional ones.
Yeah.
So it is quite unique. But I also feel that's what one sets us apart, and two, it
Hmm.
sets us up for success, is what I'd like to believe, right? Now
Hmm.
imagine pitching to someone, you're pitching a network first of all, and you're pitching to someone and you're saying you're the first member and you have to pay me 30,000 rupees. And I'm no Ankur Wariku, I'm no Kunal Shah. It's not like I'm going to do this and I'm building a company, right? So,
Yeah.
and like full kudos to everyone who paid this girl who's driving around Delhi asking people for 30,000 rupees to believe in her and Anand's, of course, dream back then because there was no product. So I think the first question I think I also got was who else is there, and then you kind of run into the chicken and egg problem. So we went
Correct.
benefits first. Um, it was tough. It was blood, sweat, tears. Like I said, I think we were also building. We were starting up. I was, like I said, I was selling the membership myself, driving around Delhi NCR because we were also going city wise first.
Mm-hmm.
But Anand and I also consciously decided not to go to friends and family for the first entire year. In fact, everyone I know and everyone within my at least inner or second degree circle only ended up or unfortunately got a chance to become a member in the second year when we
Mm-hmm.
were 100% confident about what we're building and what Leap does, etc. Because we didn't want any sort of,
Wrong signals to
wrong
come out.
signals, biases, all of that, and it
Yeah.
does happen, right? Like everyone wants
Yeah.
to cheer you on.
Correct.
And very importantly, we decided not to press the pedal for the first 12 to 18 months. Till today, we speak to every single member before onboarding them.
Wow.
It
Okay.
sounds crazy.
Yeah.
uh, it's needed and it's what sets us apart. And also, I think even till today, Sandeep, I'd like to believe we're in a discovery stage.
Hmm.
Because of these calls, because of the community team or the sales team talking, we have our ears to the ground. We've been able to pivot multiple times even in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So sure, it might take us a couple of extra years to get there, but as long as we're building right, I think that works. In terms of Indians and everyone who is willing to pay, not willing to pay, we all know if you ask someone how much you want to pay, the answer is zero. No one wants to pay anything. But I genuinely feel if you're building a product that's needed in the world, if you're solving a real problem for the person, not just for the world, there
Mm-hmm.
is demand. FOMO and just being hot in the market and all these things can only make you buy the product once. It does not make you renew. And I feel our renewal numbers are very strong. The metrics are very strong. The DAOs, MAUs are very, very strong. And the fact that it's paid and we have 6,000 women who pay us month on month goes to show that there is merit. And of course, like I said, Leap, the membership has looked very different from when we started to what it is today. But
Mm-hmm.
as long as we're taking the right steps, we're taking the right feedback, the ball eventually is in our court to cater to this demand and, of course, deliver that value. So yeah.
Ragini, if you think about it, like you said, you started with a community, and the biggest challenge with the community is the cold start problem, right? How do you get the initial group of people and get them to start engaging with each other? And then you were saying you'll build a product after that.
Yeah.
What is it that really takes for like these motivated women to start engaging with each other? Because I think you really derive value from a community only when there is conversations happening and there is some positive takeaway from those conversations, like,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
just not, it's not just any random group of friends getting together. What is the value that you derive out of it? And that is the one big challenge that I see with most communities, is that there is no value derived out of that conversation, right? It's just because you're on a similar mind space that you just only for that won't hang out together. You
Absolutely.
have to have some tangible takeaway. What is that tangible takeaway, and how did you think about that?
So I think for us, like I said, Sandeep, we went benefits first, right? So even
Hmm.
when we started, we were giving them value for the 30,000 rupees, right? Whether there was therapy sessions, whether there was access to group coaching, whether that was master classes, so on and so forth. And of course, while the product has evolved and completely changed,
Hmm.
today Leap bears no cost. So
Hmm.
everything we make is direct profit in some sense. Earlier, we
Hmm.
were spending this money on either paying the coaches or the therapists, so on and so forth. When we
Got it.
started, we didn't start Leap saying that we want to build a community. We
Hmm.
said, this is our mission. We have so and so benefits. Let's see what happens. We got
Hmm.
members in Delhi, we got members in Bombay, we got members in Bangalore. And
Hmm.
throughout this time, we thought the world will go back to normal. And the world didn't, unfortunately, right? And which is
Yeah.
why we were like, floodgates. There are people sitting in Jaipur and London and Calcutta, in Dubai, in Singapore today, and
Hmm.
all of them are members, right?
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
think for us, the community just came together. Even
Hmm.
the social angle, which is what I was talking about earlier, right? Earlier
Hmm.
we used to think that people only want to know, okay, how do I crack this interview, or how do I do this, or how do I prep for this project? And we see a lot of that happen even today. But a lot of, like, I went hiking with a a bunch of people in Gurgaon a couple of weeks back. People are traveling together. There are
Yeah.
podcast buddies. There are
Yeah.
people who are getting gin and wine together. So I think a lot of social angle is also coming out. So the fact that it's number one professional as well as social, but most importantly, apart from the fact that, of course, these are all women, there's a very common mission tying them together,
Hmm.
right? Usually when you build a community, which is any of the cohort based courses or anyone else who wants to build a community, it's random. There is
Yeah.
no thought process that's kind of put behind it. The
Hmm.
fact that we filter everyone who gets in, of course, the fact that it's paid, which also makes it much much easier. It makes them take leap a lot more seriously, I'd like to think.
Hmm.
And the fact that it's a very giving platform at the end of
Hmm.
the day. Small, small things like I can share my phone number and not be creeped out, right?
Yeah.
I can talk about my inhibitions. Like I have a founders clubhouse, and in all honesty, we talk about how mental health for founders has become such an important aspect because half the time we're dealing with our employees' mental health, right? Now, these
Correct.
are things you can't just put out on social media or talk about in a WhatsApp group. There are people discussing their dating lives, right?
Hmm.
Now, these are such trusted conversations. They're spoken about in such a safe space. We take a very, very conscious decision of not breaking that trust and doing whatever it takes to ensure Leap continues to be a safe space.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think even professionally, I want to interview here, or I want to look for a co-founder, I want to raise funds, I want to do so on and so forth. And we've made an entire website out of the impact Leap has made in people's lives. It's called love.leap.club. You should check it out if you haven't already. And
Should.
and yeah, I think that just goes to show that again we're on the right path. But I feel what sets our community apart, in one word, is of course, apart from the fact that it's all women, there's a common mission that binds everyone together.
You brought up this, and you touched a raw nerve with this founder's mental health wala issue. And let's talk about that. I think, one thing that, like, I wouldn't say worries, but it's like, you're like, suddenly there are thousands of people investing on your plan, or like investing with Deserve, and then similarly, you have these many thousand women who are members, etc. What
Yeah.
is it that freaks you out? You're like, oh shit, like, what are the problems that Ragini thinks about and loses sleep over? Uh,
So fun fact, Ragini hardly gets any sleep because Ragini's team 5 a.m. club. So regardless of what time she sleeps, she's up at 5 a.m. So sleep is a problem I'm trying to solve. But I think what really keeps me up at night, right? I think more than more than the company, I feel there are lots of people, and being very honest and transparent, right? I think
hmm,
there are lots of people in the team. We've tripled in the last 2 months. We've gone from 10, 15 people to almost 50 people. Um, and a lot of them have taken that leap of faith in, I would like to think, me and Anand more than the company, because we're still very, very 0 to 1 in comparison.
that's
So
right.
it's just about how do you keep working hard? How do you not let them down? How do you ensure they're growing, they're learning? So I feel for me, more than memberships, more than this, and of course, like I think those are problems I help them solve and I solve with them.
Yeah,
But I think something that just keeps me up at night is how do you create that rock solid culture, the hustle, the all of that, but yet take care of your people?
yeah,
Which for me, I feel I was lucky that Zomato did that with Anand and I, and which is why I think we're also trying to not give back, but it's a part of us, right? So how do you kind of
correct.
do that? And of course, all the business metrics and all of that also keep me up at night. I'm
No,
too much of a-
that business metrics true, but for me, the moment I like worry is the moment I enter office and I see so many people. I was like, okay, wait a minute, what just happened? Like, how did we were like this small company,
Yeah.
think this idea a few months back, and suddenly there are all of these people. But for us, one of the interesting things has been, and I was reflecting back on it, in the first 3 months, we had more women in the company than men. And when one of the girls who joined us, and we were talking about how that happened, and the fact is that we never ended up thinking about it. Like it just the thought didn't cross our mind that we need to do this. It's about the talent that you got and you ended up hiring them. How do companies think about this whole diversity issue? Because and I know it's tragic that it's 2022 and we still have to talk about it, but uh, like, is there a framework? Is there a way that people should approach this diversity conversation? Suhail, who heads talent for us, has been also pushing me to bring it in a more formal way. But how do you advise companies? And given that you're on the other side where you can actually bring a lot of talent to companies, how should we be thinking about like diversifying the thought process within the company?
So I think the first thing would be, and of course this conversation comes up a lot. We have a women in the workplace clubhouse within Leap also, which has more than I think 700 odd members, and they talk about it a lot because most of them are DNI champs in their organization, so on and so forth, right? Or founders, etc. So I think the first thing is just to not make a checklist, right?
That's right.
Exactly. I'm just going back to your point. I think in your first 3 months, you didn't even realize you ended up hiring more women because it wasn't a mandate, it wasn't a
Hmm.
checklist, right? Because that's when things start to break. Even today, we have lots of companies who reach out to us, and it's in everyone's, I think, KPI, KRA. Every CEO wants more women in, of course, not just leadership, but within the organization, etc. But I don't think, and this is my personal opinion, I don't think this happens if you start to make it a mandate, start to make
Hmm.
it a, oh, we need to hire X% or X number, so on and so forth.
Hmm.
It just organically needs to happen. Another very cool thing that I heard someone did or someone used to do back in the day was, I don't remember the company exactly, but this HR head who was a man, he ensured you can't see the person's name on the resume,
Oh,
right?
wow.
A lot of biases also creep in then. Um,
Correct.
um,
Yeah.
35, 40 years old, could have a child, could not have a child, can she do a sales job, so on and so forth.
Hmm.
Right? I remember when we were fundraising, someone asked Anand what my long term plans were. I don't know what that even means, but you know what I'm saying? So I feel a lot of biases, regardless of how forward you are in some sense. These are small, small things that one can do, but also not now mandate a workshop or do this and do that. Be more open. I think like even period policies, even crash facility. And I
Hmm.
understand not every startup and not every company can afford that, and I completely get it, right? Sitting on the
Hmm.
other end of this thing. But I think the ones that can, should, maternity, paternity leaves, I think these are just basics I'd like to think. Even with hybrid, I think the best thing that's come out of the pandemic has been this entire hybrid culture where you're giving someone the flexibility to, of course, come into office and stay sane because God knows we all need it. But also, how can I still be able to manage things at home if I don't have secondary caregivers, so to speak?
Yeah, so I completely agree. For me, I think the bigger thing is that if there is fundamental buy-in in the fact that diversity is good for the company, right? And when I say good for the company, not just to like have a check a box or just like be socially relevant,
Yeah.
etc., but for the fact that it brings new thoughts, new opinions, new perspectives, which otherwise I would have missed. And that helps us really be able to engage the market better, probably evolve the product better. And there are so many times when some of the perspectives that I would have missed come from somebody with a very different background than what I've had, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's very interesting, and I think that brings me to the final part of, and which I'm personally really excited about, is this whole effort of creating diversity when it comes to founders. Uh, there are so many exciting ideas being funded in India, and not enough of them are backed by women. So, the table, which is an exciting concept, talk more about that, Ragini, and what got you thinking on that.
Yeah. No, I think we've been thinking about it for the last year, if I'm being very honest. It's something that's two things have always been in the back of our heads, right? One is of course this, and we'll talk about that more. The second that I'm yet to crack and I really want to crack is the leap for freshers, right? People in colleges, because I know that's a not just a massive market, but that's a real problem.
Yeah,
We'll get to that someday, hopefully, inshallah. But for now, I
inshallah.
think in terms of, I think just the table, to give you some context. So Women's Day was coming, and like the rest of the world, I think everyone was bombarding us with collab requests and let's do this and come and talk here, so on and so forth. Um, I think since we're such a mission driven company and a very mission driven team as well, we didn't want to do something that just looks good on Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter for one day and does not make any real impact. We
Hmm.
want to focus on creating real output, real outcomes, even if that means there is a considerable amount of input that has to kind of go into it.
Hmm.
Over the last 2 years, I was talking about the Founders Clubhouse that we have internally at Leap. We have more than 1,000 founders, Sandeep, right? Of
Really?
course, all
Wow.
women, yes. In
Wow.
fact,
I
there
didn't
are that
realize that.
many. Yeah, yeah. We realize that there's so much funding, there's so much chatter happening about the lack of it, lack of tools, all of that on the platform. Of
Hmm.
course, lots of these founders reach out to the investors on our platform, right?
Hmm.
Or vice versa. There are lots of these investors who also want to back female founders because, of course, they're all women. Everyone wants to do that.
Yep.
And our point was, how do we kind of, we have both the marketplaces technically.
Hmm.
How do we make this a little bit more streamlined? Um, and that was the idea at the outset. I think everyone, even for us, everyone has started investing in this asset class. Of course, the bull run also has helped in the
Right.
last few
Right.
years. Everyone wants to explore, everyone wants to invest. In fact, fun fact, when we were raising our last round, we tweeted and we got 15 of our members to invest, right? So we realized there is juice there. Again,
Yep.
like I said, it has to be streamlined. So that's how we launched the table via Angel List. So what Table is essentially, it's a platform where we connect founders with potential investors. Of
Hmm.
course, we're focusing only on women founders. It's pretty obvious, less than 2% women in India get funded, and we definitely want to change that. When we launched, I think initially first 2 days we got 50 plus responses. We've already shortlisted the first one that's going live. We're
Can't
taking
wait.
it live on the 20th of April, and you'll of course be the first to know since you're also backing the syndicate. Um, in fact, the founders are great, running their own show in Calcutta, going all in with personal savings, putting in all the hard work. They have the drive, they have the hunger, right? And we just want these stories to come out more. Even for, I'll be honest, for founders like Anand and I, who've comparatively been in the ecosystem for a little bit, it
Hmm.
was relatively easy for us.
Hmm.
But we know it's not easy at all. It's extremely, extremely daunting.
No, it is even for men who are not in the ecosystem, who don't know whom to reach out to, etc. And here you're talking about women who have a inherently like the bias is built against them where but what I didn't realize that you already have like 1,000 founders. So in that sense, the supply side is already getting built, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's enough demand because there are a lot of people who are looking to diversify in every way, including their investments, and would want to back new perspectives with women. What is the next big thing for leap.club? Like, where do you see this going? Is it a number of members that you're tracking for? Is it some value that you want to deliver? Where do you see March 23? And I'm not asking this as an investor, but where do you see leap.club in 1 year from now?
You would have got the investor update 2 days back.
I did. I was super excited. I was like, yeah, that's one investment that's working.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think we're the first standard kids who want to send the homework on time and all of that. So proper that way. But I think lots in
Including
store.
the offside photo. I didn't miss that.
Yes, including the offsite photo. But I think lots in store. I think we've set ourselves a great 2024 benchmark of 100 CR revenue. We want to be a 100 people company. Overall, lots happening in terms of impact. I think this is something that we chase day in, day out. We don't
Hmm.
quantify it. I think these are very qualitative things. We see it happen. We, of course, learn from our mistakes, we rectify them. All of that also happens. In terms of membership, so over the next 2 years, the other 100 is 100K members on the platform. That's what
Wow.
we're gunning towards. We definitely want to kickstart L&D. We've in fact started working on it as we speak. My next meeting is that, right? So we'll double down on courses, cohort-based courses. We'll potentially dabble with a lot of them. I think the fact that you get to learn with a very solid peer network of women that we have, we've done a few experiments over the last 1 year. I think it's time to scale that. Jobs is not coming in the next year, but I think jobs is going to be massive for us. Like I said, we're sitting with all the whales, all the sharks, all the companies want to hire from leap.club.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have a B2B platform very, very soon. We'll have a proper recruiter login over the next 5 years. I genuinely think Leap can be a game changer of a product. Today, it's all via connections, network, community, and all of that. And I think our goal is to preserve this and yet expand and magnify and blow it up and make a real difference and
Yeah,
change.
no, Leap is already a cracker of a concept. I'm sure it'll be a cracker of a business, and no pressure, but you should know that everyone outside is cheering for you, Anand, and Leap.
Yeah, no, I
Thank.
don't think anyone can say leap is not needed in the world. And I want to leave with the fact that we need a lot more leaps to come in. A lot of people message me saying, oh, these guys are also doing this, these people are also doing this. Great proof of concept. I think the world needs hundreds of leaps to come together.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there is no change happening. I don't think we can do it alone.
No, I'm sure, and maybe out of the team of Leap, new Leaps will evolve.
Yeah, I mean,
So
we've made two founders of out of our
you
existing team in
already
the
have.
past 2 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you so much, Ragini. This was an amazing conversation. We really enjoyed it. And I look forward to hearing new stuff soon, as you promised
And
before
in
the
the next update also.
and in the next
No,
update too. Thank
thank
you
you
so
for
much,
having
Ragini.
me. This is great.
Thanks a lot. We hope you found the insights from this show useful. You can subscribe to the show on your favorite podcasting platform. Also, follow the YouTube channel of Dezerv for more insights on personal finance and investing.